Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man, and today we're taking a look at Kill Team Salvation. This video is sponsored by CMO Games. More on that later. Alright, so what's new in Kill Team Salvation? And I'm going to start off by saying that so far, I've been rather underwhelmed with Kill Team Salvation. I mean, I really like the teams. The terrain is okay. But as far as I'm concerned, we're basically seeing Kill Team take steps backwards. The breaking up of the big box set, the rather lackluster terrain, moving into Kill Team seasons. So let's hope that the actual rules that go along with this set are going to redeem something. Because honestly, I'm not impressed. And this is coming from someone whose favorite game for many years was Kill Team. So let's go ahead and jump right in. We've seen the new Scout Squad and Blades of Khaine from Kill Team Salvation, and now it's time to dig into the rest of a new season. So where are we and what are we fighting over? At the end of the previous season, the Gallowdark was gently pulled into orbit around the planet Beta-Decima by a very careful cabal of tech priests. Naturally, massive chunks of the Space Hulk have crashed into the surface, and as Imperial society falls apart on this doomed colony, kill teams are infiltrating its burning cities, drifting Hulk fragments and massive oceanic forge complexes, ruins in search of key information, technological treasure, and a good scrap. Your missions now take place across treacherous, spume-slicked gantries and platforms as the kill zone enters a lethal third dimension where height matters if you want to draw a bead on your foe. The large hazardous area in the center of the double-sided game board is a key feature of the Killzone Bheta-Decima. As the name would suggest, the zone is treacherous terrain for everyone. Nobody is allowed to set foot in the foreboding, warp-tainted seas. You'll need to use raised walkways to traverse the center of the kill zone and dash, jump, and fly between them. Okay, so I do like this. This is essentially just the reintroduction of like the hazardous areas or like the impassable terrain that we initially saw in Pariah Nexus from the previous edition of Kill Team, which was overall pretty cool, but we never really got to use it because they basically put out Pariah Nexus and then ended the season immediately and then never actually like integrated any of the board or rules into the new edition. So this is them basically bringing it back, and that's kind of cool. So hazardous areas. Hazardous areas restrict movement, as strong currents and toxic water prevent operatives from entering into the ocean and lurking predators stop them from venturing too close. Hazardous areas also restrict line of sight, as relentless waves, sea mist, and industrial smog make it harder for operatives to see targets over the ocean surface. The toxic ocean spray and industrial smog is also difficult to draw a line of sight through, effectively forming a giant smokescreen of obscuring space in the center. This makes the gantry platforms extremely important for shooting as well as movement, as elevated operatives can shoot over the hazardous area and be shot at in turn. Alright, so we see the restricted line of sight rules. When determining line of sight from an active operative on the kill zone floor to a target operative on the kill zone floor, the target operative is obscured if cover line drawn to its crosses horizontally over 2 circle of hazardous area. Okay, so if you're shooting at something on the same level and it's over 2 circle, the operative you're shooting at is obscured. When determining line of sight from an active operative on a vantage point to a target operative on the kill zone floor, and vice versa, the target operative is obscured if a cover line drawn to it crosses into and out of the footprint of a gantry. However, ignore the footprint of gantries the active operatives or the target operative are on. Okay, so this is when you're shooting up or shooting down. So we see here in the example, restricted line of sight across gantry footprints. So the target is obscured if you're shooting up at the other one or down at this one with the hazardous area in between. A new season of skirmish. Kill Team Salvation is the first stage of a whole new season, which can be strung together with a new campaign system that tasks your operatives with Beta-Decima infiltration. The series of linked games is designed to run alongside a regular Spec Ops narrative campaign, with Kill Team seizing territory on wide map as they attempt to waylay their foes. Okay, so I really don't like the idea of the seasons. Obviously, I have brought that up many times. When they initially announced seasons, I was definitely against it because it just seemed like a money grab type of like emulating what we've seen previously in like video games, and it just doesn't work in a situation where you have to like build and paint all your models up, in my opinion at least. And then also, I'm not sure that this is going to be a cool season if we're going to get 4 box sets of basically like this similar type of rules and terrain. So I'm going to stay optimistic for now, but this seems to me like we're basically asking for Kill Team to turn out how warcry did. We saw very redundant terrain, it was lackluster at best, and people lost interest after like a year of it. Now don't get me wrong, I absolutely love the Into the Dark stuff, but that's a completely different scenario because that Into the Dark terrain was awesome. And even by the end of that, it was getting a little redundant. The only thing that kind of saved it was there were so many awesome models and new kill teams locked up in those sets. But I think realistically, if it wouldn't have been for that, if Games Workshop would have released those individual kill teams at the same time they released the big box sets, I don't think the big box sets would have sold nearly as well. And I don't think they would have had any issues with them selling out and people not being able to get a hold of them, which in my opinion was probably the most detrimental thing to Kill Team because it basically killed excitement behind the game and a lot of people quit playing because of it. And as someone that has literally purchased everything for Kill Team ever made, by the end of last season, I had basically lost interest in it and was unable to even get a hold of a single copy of Ashes of Faith. And as one of like the most devout like customers or content creators behind this type of stuff, the fact that they lost me and also obviously the comment section and hearing from other people tells me for sure that they lost a lot of other people way before they lost me. So that is not cool. And if this is going to end up like warcry did last year, Games Workshop is about to be in for a rude awakening. But let's just hope I'm wrong on this one. As your kill teams move across the map to claim intel, they'll also have to contend with many random hazards, flaring up across the doomed and dying world. A campaign is just a fancy coloring and exercise without its missions. However, the Salvation comes with 9 new critical operations that take full advantage of the Beta-Decima terrain to inject verticality and movement options into your games. Okay, so that's another thing that I kind of have mentioned before, but haven't specifically pointed out, is now that they're selling the kill zone separately, they should have included the actual rules for the kill zone with the kill zone itself, but they don't. The book is coming with the Salvation set. So realistically, if you want to use the kill zone and you want all the kill zone rules, you're going to end up having to buy Salvation anyway, or at least pick up the book. And we know that they tend to sell the books way later, same with the individual kill teams. So this is just a bunch of pieces that are strung together that look like they're going to lead to another disaster. Now a quick message from today's sponsor. CMO Games has been selling Games Workshop products online for over 20 years. They carry the full line of Games Workshop products, including Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar, Necromunda, Blood Bowl, paint tools, and more. Almost all Games Workshop products are priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games takes pre-orders for most Games Workshop products released at their earliest date possible. 12:01 a.m. on Saturday, they go live. Most of these pre-order products are also priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games offer free shipping in the US 48 with an order of $50 or more. Their customer service is top-notch and they ship most orders within 24 hours. Visit CMOGames.com using the affiliate link in the description and let them know that you heard about CMO Games from Warhammer Man. Now back to the video. Salvation wants nothing more than for your operatives to clamber over walkways and wrest vantage points from your foes. A big change for the kill teams used to the claustrophobic warren of walls and hatches in the Gallowdark. You may be draining power from the malfunctioning capacitor or even bringing the facility back to life in search of loot. Alright, so mission 1.1 is loot the rig. Much of the myriad machinery that makes up rig apparatus can be salvaged from the structure by a kill team, who can repurpose the materials for their own ends to trade them for much needed supplies. Alright, so here we see the deployment map. So we basically have the deployment zones on the short side and then the long side between them. And we basically have the big ferrotonic furnace in the center, which is going to be the highest point. And then we see a bunch of walkways kind of in between. And the whole area here in purple is going to be the hazardous part. So pretty neat. I like the layout of this board. It's always nice to have like a big obscuring piece in the center. I think of it kind of like a pyramid is what you're going for. And that always works out well. So we'll be taking a closer look at the Killzone Bheta-Decima terrain and objectives tomorrow at the Warhammer TV crew fight their latest battle report across the creaking platforms of a dying planet. And Eldari fans will also want to keep their eyes peeled for an in-depth look at the Blades of Khaine rules. So yeah, I definitely want to see that because part of the problem with the striking scorpions or like aspect warriors in general is you have like an Exarch in your squad who has special equipment and stuff like that, but the actual models themselves don't appear to have like any specialist type things that like set them apart. As where in the past we've seen like an upgrade sprue that has a bunch of cool stuff to make your individual models awesome, like different weapons or equipment. We don't really see that on any of the striking scorpion models, and obviously in 40k they don't have that. So we'll have to see how the rules actually translate over, and that'll be interesting to have a look at. And there is just one more note here at the bottom. They also can't be shoved into the briny depths. Good news for anyone staring down an angry dozer. So that is interesting as well. Part of like the kill team thing and part of what's cool about this is there's no actual connection points between these. So you're going to have to jump. So if you can't get pushed into this like how you would in Necromunda, that kind of takes away like some of the coolness. But I am curious if you fall into it because it's like hazardous and everything, how is that going to work? Is your fighter going to be eliminated? Are they going to take a bunch of damage and have to try to crawl out of there? We'll have to see with that. So pretty cool picture right here. I do like how this looks, but to tell you the truth, so far from what we're seeing, that this is going to be another season. The actual terrain is rather underwhelming and the rules don't look particularly awesome either. Couple all that with them basically breaking up the actual like kill team box set, having the book with the terrain rules in the Salvation set instead of having those rules in the Beta-Decima set. I just really wonder how well this is going to do. For me, I've lost a lot of like my interest and excitement behind Kill Team. Part of that has to do with like new 40k coming out, 10th edition and everything. But I can't help but think if I'm feeling this way, there's probably a lot of people out there feeling the same way. So let me know what you think down below. Are you excited for this terrain? Are you excited for the teams? How do you feel about them dividing up the boxes and then putting the book with all the terrain and campaign rules specifically with Salvation instead of the kill zone? Always like to hear back from you guys in the comments. Special thanks to CMO Games for sponsoring the video. Check out the link in the description to save 15% on Games Workshop products. That's it for today. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man, and I'm already seeing a lot of red flags with this, and I'm out of here.